Hey there, James. Thanks for hanging out. How you doing, man?
I'm good. And yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Got any questions? Anything I can help you with today, James?
Well, I was basically listening in for the information about when to reopen, how to reopen, and so forth.
What state is your church in?
Michigan.
Okay. And how are you guys staying healthy out there?
Well, it's been kind of rough, but we've had like the third most deaths and third most
Ah,
highest rates in the country, but we're hanging in here despite that.
amen. Has your guys' governor given, which I mean, your governor has been under a little bit of fire there. Has she given any sort of indication as to when churches are going to be able to meet again?
Well, she has us closed to the end of May.
Okay. And now, are you guys are doing church online, I suppose?
Yes, we are.
How's that going for you?
Well, it's going okay in the sense that the service is coming off nicely. We have good views, but by not being able to just see the people and talk to the people, um, it kind of leaves me in a limbo. I've had to learn how to do this, and talking to a dot is not the same as talking to faces.
Right.
But it's working out pretty good.
Good deal. And so, do you have a specific question about reopening that I can answer for you, or?
Well, like in my mind, I've been thinking, do we need to take people's temperatures? Do we need to pass out masks? Do we need to pass out gloves? In other words, I'm trying to think through what it is I need to do to protect myself and whatever people may come. What about the spacing? Um, and work through all of those issues in my mind before I begin to talk to my officers about preparing, our strategy for preparing.
So I actually did a survey to my church just the other day, and I asked them 9 questions. And so the first question was, how likely are you to visit our church within the first 30 days of
Hmm.
reopening?
Okay.
And 2/3 of them said that they were very likely.
Hmm.
13% said that they were likely. So almost 80% of the church said, "Hey, within 30 days, we're very likely, or likely to come to church." Now, the second question was, how would you feel if Riverview required all of our staff to wear face masks or face shields? And 50% of my church responded that making our employees wear face masks would not impact their decision to come back or not come back.
Hmm.
So 40%, or I should say 18% said that this must be in place before I come back. 22% said it would make me more likely. So 40% seemed to be in favor of it, but 50% said it really wouldn't matter to them one way or the other. I asked the question, how would you feel if Riverview made our employees take their temperature before their shift on Sunday? And more than 50% said it did not matter to them.
Hmm.
And now, where for me it gets a little interesting is when I asked the question, how would you feel if our church made all of our guests either wear masks or take their temperature before coming to church? Um, the numbers of people saying that it didn't matter to them was the same. More than 50% said it didn't matter to them, but more people started saying it would make them less likely to come back to our church if we required people to wear a face mask or take their temperature. I asked the question, how would you feel if our church reduced the number of people allowed in the building at one time? More than 50% said that it did not matter to them, 54%. Um, I asked, how would you feel if our church implemented enhanced sanitation? So hand sanitizers, sanitation wipes, wiping down all of the surfaces every hour on the hour. And then I would also include what you said, James, about making things like gloves available, face masks available, things of that nature. And 33% said it did not matter to them. However, 47% said it would make them more likely to come back to church. So, they don't seem to care so much about whether or not we make our employees or guests wear face masks or take their temperature, but they are overwhelmingly in favor of us creating more sanitized spaces. And then I asked the question about social distancing. How would you feel if we, said people had to be 6 feet away from each other for children's check-in, waiting in line to get their coffee, etc. And again, about half the people said it really didn't matter to them. So the most intriguing question to me, for you guys that are paying attention, I asked the question: what Sunday would you feel most comfortable returning to church? Now, 38% said that they would feel comfortable coming back to church this Sunday. Now, remember, the original question was, how likely are you to come back within the first 30 days of reopening? 80% said that they were either likely or very likely, but only 38% said that they were willing to come back this Sunday. May 10th got 20%, May 17th, 6%, and then we actually got, let's see here, that would be 10, 11, 12, 13, 16. So, and I'll even include 16, 24, 20. So 26% of the people that took our survey said that they were either, they were interested in coming back to church either some Sunday in June, July, through the rest of the year. 3% said that they weren't even willing to come back to church this year. Mm-hmm. So what that told me was that there is still a really, good chunk of our church that is very interested in coming back and coming back soon, but it's not as many people as I thought.
Right.
And so what I'm, and Kevin and I were talking about this earlier, is that I believe, I'm in the state of California, and so our governor took us from groups of 250 or more couldn't meet, and then the next week it was 50 or more, and then like the next day it was 10 or less, and then the day after that it was 0. We were sheltered in place, and they're not going to give us 250 or more when we come back. It's going to be maybe 50 people or less. And so for a lot of churches, if you're in a smaller building, first of all, churches that meet in schools are still going to be kind of in trouble because the school districts probably are not going to let them meet. Mm-hmm. If your church is in a smaller building, and even if you only have a dozen people or so, then or I'm sorry, not a dozen. If you have less than 50 people, I would personally recommend when you come back, you probably need to have 2 service times.
Yeah.
So that you can have, 6 feet between chairs if that's something that you want to do, or, just to create that physical distancing.
Mm-hmm.